The Socratic method is often misunderstood as a pedagogical tool or a dialectical strategy, a clever way of asking questions to reveal ignorance or stimulate critical thinking. But this interpretation misses the essence entirely. The Socratic method is not a technique to be learned and deployed like rhetoric or debate. It's a way of being that arises from a fundamental disposition toward truth, a disposition that cannot be faked, rehearsed, or merely studied. Socrates did not engage in dialogue to win arguments or demonstrate intellectual superiority. He asked questions because he knew he did not know. And this knowing of not knowing was not a performance, it was a posture of soul, a lived humility so radical that it suspended all pretense to knowledge that was not grounded in direct, verifiable understanding. The method, then, was an extension of his being. It was not something he did, it was how he was. This distinction is critical. One may memorize the structure of Elenchus, ask a definition, test it, expose contradiction, but without the inner orientation Socrates embodied, the process becomes mechanical. It devolves into intellectual sport, void of integrity. True Socratic inquiry demands that the one who questions is also willing to be exposed, to be wrong, to be transformed. The method cannot be wielded without being subjected to it. To practice it authentically is to surrender to the possibility that one's most cherished assumptions may be false. This is why the Socratic method is not a skill to be taught in classrooms. It cannot be compartmentalized or applied as needed. It requires a fundamental change in one's approach to life. The one who practices it must live in constant awareness of the limits of their understanding. They must see every belief as provisional, every answer as suspect, every certainty as a potential barrier to truth. It's not merely a cognitive technique, it's spiritual discipline. Only through repeated confrontation with one's own ignorance does this way of being stabilize. One must learn to prefer the discomfort of not knowing to the illusion of certainty. And this is not easy. It requires unlearning the habits of self protection, intellectual pride, and ideological attachment. It demands the dismantling of identity as built from belief. To walk the Socratic path is to live in a state of inquiry, not intermittently, but continually. It's not something one does, it's what one becomes. Thus, the Socratic method, rightly understood, is not a method in the modern sense at all. It's a form of life, a sustained commitment to truth that begins with inward silence and issues in outward questioning. It is not the art of asking questions, it's the art of living without lies. To practice the Socratic method, then, is to engage in honest dialogue, asking clear, simple questions that test whether a belief holds up under scrutiny. It begins with a claim, such as justice is X. The questioner then asks, what do you mean by that? And does that definition apply in all cases? When a contradiction appears, the belief is either revised or abandoned. But this process only functions when both participants are committed to truth over opinion, and when the questioner is willing to be transformed by the inquiry. It is not about trapping others, it's about uncovering the truth. And that can only happen if one is also ready to face the discomfort of one's own ignorance and potential wrongness.